Scrum Masters Elite _UK shares deep insights into rugby and sports, tactics, the spirit of the England team at the Six Nations, and lessons about defeat, resilience, and comeback. Subscribe to the channel.
Every major sports season carries enormous expectations, especially for teams with long-standing traditions like the England rugby team. Before this year's Six Nations tournament began, many people believed that the final match between England and France in Paris could become an unofficial Grand Slam final. It was imagined as a top-level clash between the two strongest teams in Europe, where tactics, resilience, and competitive spirit would be pushed to their absolute limits. But sport has one very special characteristic. It never unfolds entirely according to the scripts that people predict. For England, this year's Six Nations journey has turned out completely differently from the initial expectations. Instead of moving closer to glory, they have faced a series of disappointing defeats. The loss to Italy, especially their first defeat to this opponent in more than 3 decades, became a major shock for fans. It was not simply a loss, but also a sign that the team might be facing deeper issues in terms of playing style, cohesion, and consistency. Looking back at the context before the final match in Paris, I feel that this is no longer simply a match for a title. For England, it has become more like a test of pride and character. When the biggest goal is no longer attainable, the only thing left is honour, the honour of the national team, the coach, and the players wearing the national jersey.
Disappointment, but also an opportunity to reflect. 3 consecutive defeats in a major tournament is certainly something no team wants. However, if we look at it from another perspective, these losses also bring an important opportunity, the opportunity to reflect. In sport, victory often makes people overlook existing problems. When a team wins, small mistakes tend to be hidden by the joy of success. But when defeat occurs, every weakness becomes clearly visible. That is when a team is forced to confront reality. For England, one of the most frequently discussed issues has been their kick-heavy tactical approach. In theory, this is a reasonable strategy, especially in modern rugby where controlling territory and applying pressure with precise kicks can bring significant advantages. However, in this year's tournament, that approach has not seemed to deliver the expected results, not because the tactic itself is wrong, but perhaps because it has not fully matched the way the players are combining with one another. Rugby is a sport that demands extremely high levels of cohesion across positions. If even one link in the system is out of rhythm, the entire tactical structure can be affected. For that reason, as England enters the final match against France, I believe this could be the moment for them to experiment more boldly. Changes in the lineup, signs of a search for the right formula. The England head coach during this period has shown that he is not afraid of making changes. The number of adjustments in the starting lineup during previous matches suggests that the coaching staff is still searching for the best combination. In elite sport, stability is always important. But before stability is achieved, teams often go through a period of experimentation. This can sometimes lead to inconsistent results in the short term, but it may bring long-term benefits.
One change that seems almost certain is the absence of Tom Curry due to injury. This is a significant loss, as Curry is a crucial player in the back row, particularly in defensive situations and ball contests. However, his injury also opens the door for other players to prove themselves. I have always believed that in sport, whenever one door closes, another opens. Younger players or those who have had limited playing time may see this as a rare opportunity to showcase their abilities on a big stage. The backline, where creativity is expected, one of the most closely watched areas in England's lineup is the backline. In modern rugby, this is where much of a team's creativity and speed is determined. The presence of George Furbank at fullback could bring greater attacking flexibility. A player who can link effectively between the lines helps the team create more attacking options. In addition, his ability to deal with high balls will be extremely important when facing a strong team like France. On the wing, Caden Murley is expected to provide breakthroughs. In several previous matches, England was criticised for lacking bold running plays. A player with pace and the ability to break defensive lines could completely change the rhythm of the game. The potential return of Henry Slade is also a notable factor. His experience could help stabilise the midfield, an area where England is still searching for the best connection. However, what makes me reflect the most is that many players in the midfield positions have not yet fully established their roles. This suggests that the team is still in the process of identifying a stable core for the future.
The back row is a major tactical puzzle. If the backline is where creativity is generated, the back row determines the team's balance. In rugby, players in this area must not only be physically strong in contests for the ball, but also capable of reading the game and supporting defense effectively. Tom Curry's injury makes this challenge more difficult, but it also opens the possibility for testing new options. Sam Underhill could bring defensive solidity, while younger players might add energy and physical presence in contested situations. I think the most important factor here is not just the individual players, but how they work together. Rugby is a team sport. A lineup full of stars is not necessarily stronger than one built on strong cohesion. The forward pack, the foundation of strength. One positive aspect I noticed in the previous match was that England's forward pack performed quite well. In rugby, this area is like the foundation of a house. If the foundation is strong, the entire tactical system can function more effectively. Players such as Ellis Genge and Jamie George have shown commendable fighting spirit. Even when the team struggled, they continued to play with determination. This makes me believe that even though the overall results of the tournament have not met expectations, there are still bright spots that England can build on for the future. When following the journey of a team in sport, I always try to see it not merely as a series of matches, but as a story about people. For me personally, England's story in this year's Six Nations brings several reflections. First, great expectations do not always lead to the results we hope for. In life, we also set many goals and expect things to go according to plan. But reality can sometimes be very different. What matters most is how we respond when things do not go as expected.
Second, failure is not the end. It can be the starting point for change. A team truly matures only when it learns from its mistakes. Third, unity and belief in the collective are always more important than any individual. For fans, difficult seasons can feel emotionally heavy. However, love for sport does not exist only when the team is winning. A true supporter is someone who stands by the team even when they struggle. That support can sometimes become the greatest motivation that helps players overcome difficult periods. The story of England in this tournament also reflects something very familiar in sport. Competition is becoming increasingly intense. Teams that were once considered weaker are improving rapidly. This makes tournaments more exciting, but it also forces the stronger teams to continually innovate and evolve. From a positive perspective, this makes sport fairer and more interesting. England's final match in Paris may no longer carry the title-deciding significance that many once expected. But to me, it still has great meaning. It is an opportunity for the team to prove its character. It is an opportunity for young players to step onto the big stage. And it is also an opportunity for all of us who follow sport to remember that the true value of sport lies not only in victory, but also in the spirit of never giving up. Whatever the result of the match may be, the most important thing is how the England team steps onto the field with pride, determination, and belief in the future. Because in sport, just like in life, every defeat can become the foundation for a stronger comeback.
Scrum Masters Elite_UK says goodbye for now. Sport is not only about winning, it's also about the courage to rise again after defeat. See you in the next rugby stories.